For cheap D2R items, visit aoeah.com. You get 3% off with the code ARIAT. Check the link in the description. Hello and welcome to a short trip into the past. Today I'll show you some items that no longer exist and others that still exist but have lost their meaning due to the changes that happened. If you really remember all these items, you are such a great Diablo 2 nerd as I am. I have bought the game the day it came out, as well as the expansion Lord of Destruction. The manuals contain lots of useful information and also a map of Sanctuary. The first milestones I want to show you are from the patch version LOD 1.08. At that time, I started playing online in Battle.net. A 08 Arcanes had a whooping 2.5 Vita per character level. From patch version 1.09 on, it was only 1.5 per level. The old Arcanes also had life per character level. In closed Battle.net, this armor only dropped a few times on the European server. One proud owner was a player called Mitch, who was known in the scene at that time. His account name was Diablo, with the O consisting of 2 brackets. A Harlequin crest had increased the maximum life by 50%, especially in combination with the Arcanes very overpowered of course. However, the old version had no mana and no damage reduction. One of my clan members at that time had one of these. A 08 Vampire Gaze had 25% damage reduction, another one of my clanmates had one. The 1.08 items continued existing after patch 1.09, the changes only affected the items dropping from then on. So the 08 items became very valuable and almost legendary. A 08 Ariats had minus 15% target defense, but due to a bug, the opponent's defense was even reduced by 85%. Therefore, the helmet was very popular for PvP barbarians. I had one of those helmets back then. Other examples would be an old High Lords which had running speed instead of attack speed, a Valkyrie wing with 30% each on attack and movement speed, cast rate and hit recovery, or a Grandfather with 25% maximum mana and life each. There are of course many other items that were changed with the huge patch, but these are the probably most famous. Now we'll have a look at some items that were brought into the game illegally. They mainly existed during the patch 1.09 time, but some of them still after, and maybe one or the other copy is still lying on some account. However, such dupes were usually unperm, which means they could disappear, e.g. if 2 copies were present in the same game. The constricting ring was designed by the creators and exists in the game files, but it was never put into the game. It never got a drop rate at any monster. Nevertheless, cheaters were able to create this ring and smuggle it into the game, probably with some kind of D2Hackit plugin. D2Hackit was a hacking tool which made it possible to manipulate the data packages in the game. The first map hacks and bots can also be traced back to D2Hackit plugins. They just made the scripts more user-friendly. This ring is named the Stone of Jordan, but you can tell from the attributes that something is wrong here. And one or the other will recognize that it has exactly the properties of an Oculus. That's why it was called Oculus Ring, or Oki Ring for short. We have the same principle with the Buriza armor. The difference here, the name is also on the armor, not just the mods. Sigurd's stealth is the so-called bug belt, which is actually wrong, because it was no bug creating this belt, but an exploit. The item's name is defined in the game data, but was not assigned to any item. You can easily create it with an editor, just like I did. Then there were the so-called IT weapons, which were also made by a hack. In the closed Battle.net exploit, weapons with the rune word silence were used. The item keeps the rune word properties, but the contained runes and the name of the rune word were destroyed, so there were open sockets for some nice jewels, or even an 8 rune, which basically had the same effect as the 08 Ariats. In closed Battle.net, hackers had to be careful not to overdose the items. Copies that were cheated too unrealistically were recognized and eliminated by the Battle.net's protection mechanisms. In single-player mode, on the other hand, I can create such a bow with a free choice of attributes, but only in the old version of the game. In Diablo 2 Resurrected, such items are recognized and deleted during the game loading process. By the way, the name "it" is given when an item is defined as a rune word, but no rune word name from the pool was assigned to it. So the online exploit somehow managed to manipulate those values. Probably a D2Hackett packet sniffer was used for this, as well as an interface in the game mechanics that makes it possible to intervene in the data transfer, e.g. the trade screen or Anya's item personalization function. However, all IT weapons were destroyed by a later patch. Finally, we come to some more legit pieces, which you can still find in the game. You probably know some valuable blue items, such as J-mods or nice headgear. In the past, blue swords and bows were also very popular, at least if they had the cruel mod with up to 300% increased damage, plus attack speed or max damage. People also tried to create such weapons in the cube by rolling any blue Colossus blade or bow with 3 chipped gems. An alternative for barbarians was the runeword Fury, preferably built into a Balrog blade. Amazons also liked to play Windforce or Boriza at that time, but because in the PvP League Pierce and Knockback were forbidden, many players used Eaglehorn, which was of course far more affordable than such a blue bow with huge damage. And finally, we had some blue 4-socketed armors with up to 100 life, or alternatively 24% faster hit recovery. Like the blue weapons, these were socketed with ED Max or IAS ED jewels. However, since blue or red 40-15 jewels with attack speed and red or green 40-15s with maximum damage were affected by duping very often, such jewels were blacklisted in the PvP League. Therefore, you were not allowed to play perfect 160-60 armors, especially not with dupe colors. To be legit, an armor had to be socketed with different jewel colors and lower than 160% damage. Did you see some of these items for the first time ever? Tell me in the comments. I'll say goodbye, take care, and may the loot be with you.
Follow me. Come on. Thank you. Bye.